check my YouTube channel, subscribe, and share.
Welcome everyone to Kimberly's Speaking podcast. And today's guest, we have Mrs. Vanessa Cardenas, Betrayal Recovery Specialist. Welcome, Vanessa.
Oh, Kimberly, thank you so much. As we chatted off recording, I love your colors. Woohoo! Absolutely. The black, the white, the pink.
Yes, thank you.
And,
I like fun colors.
yes, absolutely. You're a girl after my own heart. So I'm really excited for our conversation. Your audience is going to just love this, even though it's a very taboo topic and most people will not admit to it. Here I am in front of you going, I was betrayed.
Yeah, we've all been betrayed. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm from New York. I grew up on the Upper West Side of New York City. Oh, yes. In the 1970s and 80s and 90s.
Oh,
Woo! Woohoo! The city.
I was born in New York.
And where are you?
I'm in North Carolina now.
Now you're in
I've
North
been in
Carolina.
Yeah.
So you lost a
I've been
little
in
bit
North
of your New
Carolina
York
for a
accent.
while. Yeah, I'm a country girl. We moved here when I was so much younger, so I consider myself country. But yes, I was born in New York.
How wonderful. How wonderful.
Yes.
And I had the pleasure of meeting my husband in school, and we fell madly, deeply, fully in love. Oh,
Gosh.
there is
Isn't
something
that an
about you.
awesome love story?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that an awesome love story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was magical. I looked into his chestnut brown eyes, and that was it. I was smitten. Yeah, absolutely. He he he's not going to like that I said this, but
Uh-oh.
he wasn't the Adonis of the school. He was the teddy bear. And I
Oh.
loved it. I absolutely loved it. He was always very quiet and very, very shy. Stayed somewhat in the background and whatnot, but he had a wicked sense of humor that I always giggled and laughed anytime I heard him say anything. And then I got close enough to see that he had the longest eyelashes.
Oh, wow.
I'm so envious. I wish I could get lashes like that.
I know, right? Men always have the best eyelashes. I don't understand it.
What is it about that? What is it about that? Oh, and madly, deeply, passionately, and I had checked off all the boxes. I really had, because I had a very challenging childhood because I was born to terrified teenage parents that they really, really struggled, and we struggled. And I grew, even though I grew up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, we lived in an apartment that had no furniture. I remember, a mattress on the floor, and we could never allow the super to come into our apartment because we didn't have anything. And it was such a almost out of body experience, because on the outside, we looked the part. We looked the part Upper West Side, but internally, we didn't have much. And that was a really interesting dynamic, because when I met my husband, I always wanted to be at his apartment, with his family. And it was just that interesting dynamic that happened. So when I rolled into my 20s, I checked off all the boxes. I went to college. I got a good job. I met a good man. I had 2 kids, had the cars, had the money in the bank. I had furniture, that type of thing. Not for nothing. I thought I was inoculated from anything terrible happening to me.
Yeah.
And then one day, fast forward 20 years, life, you go through life. 20 years, we're walking through Central Park, the beautiful, the green, the lush, and the carriages walking by with the horses, and the joggers and the people on bikes. And it was such a perfect day. It just really, really was. There was a crispness in the air. you know that feeling when it just tingles your skin ever so slightly. You don't quite need a heavy jacket, but you need a sweater type of thing. And my husband said to me, Vanessa, let's sit down. And I thought that kind of odd as well, because we usually don't sit in the park. We walk through the park. And we sat down on a bench, and I'm people watching. I'm looking at everything else around. And he said, Vanessa. And I turned to look at him in his beautiful chestnut colored eyes, with his beautiful long lashes. There's something I need to tell you. Okay. I figured he'd talk about something, whatever it is. I've met someone.
Oh, wow.
What? I've met someone. Time stood still. It just did. It did. And then the movie flashed before my eyes. And that movie was him with another woman, walking down the aisle, having children, new car, new house, new this, new that, and me by myself. And I'm saying in a split second, I already had him married off and me alone. And I fell into such despair. And the initial reaction that I had was outrageous anger. The fact that I was not arrested that day, it baffles me, because I was screaming at him. I mean, I was in such rage. And it was interesting because I really couldn't understand where that rage was coming from. And I realized later on, because hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, absolutely.
I realized later on that the reason that this betrayal affected me in such a way was because all throughout my life, I had these little micro betrayals.
That led up to it.
Little ones that I couldn't identify. I didn't have the language for it as a child. When I came into 3rd grade, and I was excited to see my best friend because we were like peas and carrots. And she turned her back to me, and now she was friends with Lisa. You anymore? I'm friends with Lisa. I found out you're poor, and I want to hang out with Lisa and whatnot. And just these little micro betrayals throughout our childhood, our teenagehood. Ooh, teenagers are brutal. Even in your 20s, when you start working and you start working at a company and you have a great idea and you're so excited to share it, and you share it with a coworker who turns around and tells the boss, not that you had a great idea, that they have a great idea. And you're like, what just happened? Type of thing. And we didn't have the language around it to understand what it was. And all we did was we put a Band-Aid over it, and we want the scar to heal, but it's still a very, very thick scar because it didn't heal properly. And what happened to me on that day is every single scar that I had, every single betrayal that happened to me throughout my life just popped open and just started bleeding. And it was so overwhelming. And I became a shell of myself for weeks, for months. Now, you have to understand, I have a psychology degrey. I went to college for psychology. I was a smart woman. Why was this affecting me the way it was? Why is it that I couldn't lift myself up off my bedroom floor where I had cried in the fetal position, watching my dog, just please make me feel better. Please make me feel better. It was baffling to me because I wanted to be able to fix him and then fix myself. And what I realized, and it took me a long time, and again, hindsight. It actually wasn't until I asked for help that my healing started to emerge. Because we as women, we want strong. We want to be fierce. We want to own our own. I can fix anything.
Yes.
Here's my cape.
Yes.
I can do it all. No,
Mhm.
no. You
And
have to ask for help, and you'd be surprised that once you ask for help and you search out help, how the help
wow.
comes to you, and
Wow.
you have to be receptive to it, and you
Yeah,
have to
absolutely.
receive it.
Yeah. Wow. That is so true.
Yes.
Like just listening to you talk about the little bitty betrayals and how they like led up, and then like that one just kind of like overwhelmed you and everything just coming, spilling out. We do that with so many things, so many emotions, anger, and people snap and they wonder, well, like what happened? But we push so much stuff down. We don't want to admit it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't even acknowledge it. We are like it's not there, and that's just so unhealthy. So you said something major when you said ask for help.
Mm.
Ooh, that is that's deep.
Yeah, we need
Mm,
to ask for help. We need to ask for help from others, whether that's individuals, God,
mm,
source, spirit,
yes.
whomever it is. But we need to ask for that help,
Mm,
and we need to pause, and then we need to receive that help. We need to be open to receive it. We need to be vulnerable yet again to allow that in. And that's a really, really hard position to be in. I give so much credit when a client reaches out, when an individual reaches out who have seen me on numerous podcasts or seen a keynote speech or has followed, seen me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and they get to know me,
mm,
and then they decide, you know what, let me call. I'm in my darkest moment. I can't breathe. I need to talk to somebody who understands, who's gone through it,
yeah,
hasn't just learned
absolutely.
techniques from a
Yeah,
textbook, but has actually
yeah,
gone through it and can say, hey, here's my
yeah.
hand. Come, come, come. I know what you feel like. We'll get through this together. I'll be standing right next to you, and we will do this. You will get through to the other side. And I know that. I know that all the way down to my bones because
Wow.
I did it.
I got
And
it,
if
man.
I could do it, if I could pick myself up off that floor, ask for help. Keep in mind, I was a very resilient child. Absolutely.
Mm,
And I needed to keep all of those emotions inside of me. But once you go through a
mm,
catastrophic
yeah.
betrayal, it opens you up in such a way that, oh,
It does.
here I am. Here I am. And I am willing to share my story with anyone that needs to hear it so that they
Wow.
know that they're not alone.
Mm,
You're not alone in your struggles. Somebody has gone through it. You just need to find that someone that's
mm,
willing to give you their hand and say, come on,
mm,
it's okay. I got you. I got you. Oh, it's so liberating to have that experience. So when someone gives me a call or sends me an email or a direct message or
mm,
however they want to communicate with me,
mm.
the first thing I tell them is how proud I am of them.
Yeah,
It takes such
absolutely.
strength and courage and vulnerability to ask, in essence, a stranger,
Yeah.
can you help me? I need help. I really need help. Can you help me? And I'm so blessed. I get
Mm,
to live my life now by my own design, completely by my own design, with purpose and on purpose. And it's glorious. People who
mm.
haven't seen me in a decade, they cannot believe
Oh,
the
wow.
transformation. They cannot believe who is standing in front of them. They almost don't recognize me because I stepped out of who I was and stepped into
Mm.
who I was always meant to be.
Oh, wow. Mm.
And
Wow.
I love pulling people through,
Mm.
encouraging people through, knowing that there is beauty on the other side of betrayal. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't wish betrayal on anyone.
Yeah.
But if you're going to
Absolutely.
go through the experience, dare I say, you might be better for it. You actually might be better for it.
Mm.
Why? Because you have wisdom.
Mm.
Wisdom. Wisdom is different than knowledge. Knowledge you get from
Mm.
textbooks and hearing things. That's knowledge. Then there's lived through experience. You've
Mhm.
actually done it.
Yeah.
And that equals wisdom. You now have the
Yeah.
wisdom because you have both.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have both. You could
Mm.
theoretically learn how to ride a bike by reading about how to ride a
Yeah.
bike. But until you actually get on the bike and you pedal,
Yeah.
and somebody holds the seat for you as you kind of get used to, okay, 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 and they remind you, look up, don't look down, look up, look up. And I feel the same way as well, that I'm teaching somebody how to ride a bike, how
Mm.
to live their life, because they're so full of pain, they don't quite know what to do. They're all unsteady as if they're on a bike. And I hold them on the back, I steady the bike for them, I steady their life for them, and then I remind them to look up. Stop looking in the back.
Mm.
Stop looking in the
Yeah.
past. Stop
Yeah.
looking down, because down is like, I don't want to look at the future. I need you to look up.
Mm.
Look up. Look up. Mm.
Wow. So, what was the pivotal moment that you knew I need to ask for help? Like, I can't do this alone. I need to reach
Mm.
out and I need to get that help.
That's a great question. As I mentioned, I laid on my floor.
Mm.
I ugly cried. We all know what that ugly cry
Oh,
looks like. It's just the
absolutely.
sobbing and the sobbing and the mascara, if you actually have
Yeah.
any makeup on, just running down your face and uncontrollably, and snot
Mm.
everywhere, and just hyperventilating, not being able to breathe, and just, you just not catching your breath and everything else. And there was one day in particular where it was bad. It was really,
Mm.
it was so bad. And I remember just
Mm.
pleading, God, Spirit, Source,
Mm.
please
Um,
stop this pain. Stop this
yeah.
pain. I promise.
Mm.
I promise
Mm.
that if I could feel just a little better, I promise that I will help someone else. I
Mm.
promise that I will
Oh.
help somebody else. And I finally fell asleep. And sleep, when you're going through something,
Oh yeah.
is just, it doesn't exist. You're a walking
Yeah.
zombie because you're not
Yeah.
getting any rest. I finally slept, and I woke up, and for the first time since before my husband said those 3 words to me,
Mm.
I actually woke up not quite knowing what was going on. Like, it wasn't right there front and center like it had
Yeah.
been all the time. Like, it had just dissipated a little bit. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. And I went
Mm.
through my day. It's still there. It's not like it disappeared,
Yeah.
but it wasn't so intense.
But it wasn't so absolutely.
I couldn't breathe,
Yeah.
and went to sleep, slept again, woke up the next day, a little better. Hmm.
Mm.
Third third day, woke up, went about my day, and I'm like, interesting. And then I got it. I got that shove. You promised.
Wow.
You
Yep.
promised. Now get to work. Get to work, ask for
Yeah.
help, and learn it in a way that you can teach it
You
to
can teach
someone
it.
else.
Ooh. Mm.
And that
Wow.
pivotal, the shove. And we've all felt it at some point in our life.
Mm.
We've all felt it. And you know it, that little nudge
Mm.
in one direction versus another direction. For me,
Yeah.
it was a really big shove. It was like,
Yeah.
hey, hold on a second. You made a promise,
Hmm. Yeah.
and you've seen that you felt better for 3 days. Now you need to get to work. And that was the day that I enlisted the help of others, and
Wow.
finally spoke my truth, because I hadn't said it to anybody either.
Yeah.
I hadn't shared it with family or friends or
Wow.
anybody. And then I poured out my heart and my
Ooh.
pain to a coach, online. Again, I needed to be brave enough to say it. And I started working with her, and subsequently started working with a lot of the other gurus in the space. And I went about it a little bit convoluted because I started in the grief space.
Okay.
Grief is a little different. There's a lot of similarities, don't get me wrong. But with grief, it's a loss. And yes, I had the loss of my marriage the way it was. But he was still there. He hadn't passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still there. He was the subject and the target of all my rage. But he was right there. Whereas grief over the loss of a loved one, they're no longer there.
They're no longer there.
You have all the questions and everything else, but it's a different situation. And so I went about it grief first, working with a grief coach. Subsequently found somebody very specialized in betrayal. Again, a little bit of a different beast, different understanding of it. Because similar to the 5 stages of grief, which I think there's 6 stages, if I'm going to be, if I'm going to put it out there, because again, what we look to for others that have experience, that have that wisdom, we want the answers. But we're each individuals. We're each unique in our own way. So a one-size-fits-most approach doesn't work. So as I mentioned, I just took pieces from every single person. Every single coach and therapist and marriage counselor, each had their value. Each said something that was really powerful. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to hold on to that. That's really good. That's helpful to me. Ooh, that doesn't quite feel right to me, but that might help someone else. I understand it, but it doesn't feel right for me. And then there were some things that I was just like, no, not gonna work. Not going to even attempt that, not going to even suggest that to someone else. And that's the beauty of working with coaches is you hopefully, if you get a really good coach, you have that flexibility to kind of move around, which is wonderful. What happened for me was that one of the experts in the field had a support group. And I didn't recognize that I actually liked the support group setting. I didn't recognize it at first. I wanted one-on-one. Here's the situation. Tell me what to do. Here's the situation. Tell me what to do. Like I didn't want to participate and hear other people's stories because I was going through my own pain, and I didn't need theirs as well. And my mentor really encouraged me to go to support groups. I think she saw something in me that I hadn't seen in myself at that moment in time. As the weeks progressed and I came out of my shell to share my story, I winded up being an unofficial ambassador and sponsor to the other 8 women in the group. And my mentor noticed it, and she pulled me aside after 3 months and said, Vanessa, you have a knack for this. You have a gift for this. You are so empathetic. You're so compassionate. You're so down to earth. You're so realistic. And you just, if you like what I say, great. If not, toss it. It's fine. Absolutely. She goes, you just have a presence about you that's very soothing, but at the same time, a cheerleader, and at the same time, a little tough love. A little, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. This is going to make you feel better. Let's try it. If it doesn't make you feel better, we'll move on to something else, but you have to try. You can't stand still. You can't stand still. And that was amazing to me. That was amazing that she saw that potential in me. And I started working with her one-on-one, not on my situation, but
Exactly.
towards learning all that knowledge,
Hmm.
able to help others,
Help others.
incorporate my experience so that I have
Hmm.
the wisdom to be able to share with others. And I'm fortunate. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on education beyond
Oh, wow.
my college education, which was
Yeah.
decades ago. But
Yeah.
when you love something,
Yeah.
you love the possibilities,
Hmm.
love that feeling that comes over me when I
Mm-hmm.
see a woman or a man have that moment, that aha moment, that
Hmm.
whoa, like that release where they feel that pain dissipate.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. And for me, I totally believe in synchronicities. I totally, totally believe it. Let me give you a simple example.
Okay.
One of the things that I like to do is I always like to thank God, source, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it in a little bit of a different way. I know some people pray, some people have
Mm-hmm.
conversations. Mine's a little different.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that, let's say, for example, I leave my house and
Mm-hmm.
I forget my car keys. And I turn around, I go back into my house to grab my car keys. And next
Mm-hmm.
to my car keys is an umbrella. And I realize, oh, it's going to rain. Let me grab the umbrella as well.
Mm.
Then I realize, thank you. Because
Yeah.
if I had my car keys, I would have just
You
jumped in
wouldn't
my car and gone. But the fact that I left
have.
my car keys required that I come back into my
Yeah.
house, see the umbrella, and go, oh, I need that too.
Yeah.
Somebody was looking out for me
Yeah.
and said, you need to go back in the house. You need to see
Mm.
the umbrella. That for me is a synchronicity. So when
Yeah.
those situations happen,
Mm.
thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Every single day without fail, I say at least thank you once. Thank you up there. I say thank you to everybody around me,
Yeah.
people, but every day I say thank you because
Mm.
I recognize those synchronicities and
Yeah.
I love those
Yeah.
synchronicities.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned your education because when you said you went to school for a degree in psychology, it seems like to me, people that I've met, and I have a degree in psychology as well. They are a people person. It's like they're made for that specialty, and it feels like you went into that and it just really prepared you for what you're doing now, further down the road. So how much of a part do you think that played in what you're doing now?
Mm, mm. I think it played a large part of it.
Mhm.
It's been with me my whole life, actually.
Wow.
I've always been someone that others confided in.
See?
And I found that very interesting. And that was also part of the betrayal, that somebody
Mm.
would confide in me and be embarrassed or feel they would have a feeling like they gave me a secret and I held on
Mm.
to it lock and key. I mean,
Mhm.
it never escaped my lips. But they had a hard time with it
Mm.
because I knew. So I was a reflection of their pain.
Mm.
So therefore, suddenly the friendship would
Yeah,
dissolve and I would feel
absolutely.
betrayed. Wait a second. I
Yeah.
took in your
Hmm.
situation, your story, your secret, so that
Yeah.
you could release some of the angst
Wow.
that you were experiencing. I took
Wow.
it from you and
Yeah.
and helped you through it, and then suddenly you're off and it's like, wait, what? you know that type of
Definitely.
thing, again, because as teenagers and as young children, we don't know what's happening, we don't understand
Yeah.
it, and even the adults around us almost don't allow us to feel the emotions that we're feeling.
Mm. Ooh, that's important.
It is. It absolutely is. We have
Mm-hmm.
emotions and we have words that define those emotions, and we have to use
Mm-hmm.
them. And that's one of the aspects of betrayal that I really try to get out there and talk about is
Mm-hmm.
the communication aspect of it. I would
Uh-huh.
love to be almost a fortune teller and say, listen,
Um,
you need to do this, this, and this, because,
mhm.
3 years down the line, there might be
Yeah.
your relationship. So
Mm.
preempt it. Do these things now to ward that off so it doesn't
Mhm.
happen. And it's an interesting dynamic that I'm definitely exploring, because
Mhm.
it's very interesting when people find out what I do and then they want to subsequently ask me a question for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend.
So you want to know
Wow.
the number one question recently has been when, because now that we're out through the pandemic, a lot
Mhm.
of people, a lot of networking events and things of that nature, and
Yeah.
being a keynote speaker, I get a lot of questions. And the number
Mm.
one question that I get asked for a friend is, what's a big red flag that you
Mm.
see when your relationship is changing?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? You want to take a guess?
Communication.
It's definitely communication. Communication's in the top three, but the first one, the
Mm.
first very subtle sign
Mm.
relates to the phone. When the
Wow.
phone becomes closer and it comes like this, and it's held in the
Mm.
hand for dear life, never to let it go. And the second it
Mm.
dings, your partner's all over it. And there's late night texts going on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a work thing, this and that. They have it thumbprinted. They have it
Yeah.
face recognition. They have an ID code that's like 20 characters long and whatnot.
I
And
do
you
too.
can't get into it. It's Fort Knox.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mm.
When there is a shift in their
Yeah.
phone habits,
Mm.
it's usually an indication that a conversation needs to happen.
Yeah.
And what we find ourselves in when we're in relationships is there's two sides.
Okay.
There's always two sides, but
I know.
you can have easy now, hard later. Easy now
Ooh.
is like ignoring it,
Yes.
letting it get bigger and bigger and bigger and
Yes.
festering, and then it
Yes.
explodes. Or
Yes.
having the hard conversation now, so it's a little easier later on. The hard conversation is, hey, I've noticed the last
Mm.
couple of days
Yeah.
that, you've been texting really late and whatnot, let's talk about it.
Mm.
What's going on for you? What's
Yeah.
happening? What can we do?
Yeah.
What can we do to make sure that our relationship is on solid ground?
Yeah.
But that's days, not to let the phone behavior drag on for weeks,
Mm.
months, years,
Yeah.
whereas it
Ooh.
becomes commonplace that, he sleeps with the phone in his hand, on his
Yeah.
chest, or he sleeps with it, underneath his hip or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yes, it's phone behavior that is usually a very big red flag. And it's, again, as I mentioned, it's very subtle, but it does
Mm.
come on. So yes, that is the number one question recently that I've been getting asked by people who come up to me. They realize I'm a betrayal recovery specialist.
Mhm.
I get the, hey, can I ask you a question for a friend?
Mm. So tell me how you went to the support groups, you kind of discovered that, hey, I have a knack for this. You started getting your training. What was the transition in that level to where you are now?
Mm, it was really just being everywhere for everyone
Okay.
and being
Mm.
out there, because for
Yeah.
so long I was the best kept secret in New York. I just went from referral to referral to referral to
Yeah.
referral. And it wasn't
Okay.
until I actually worked with a client that was a brand manager, guru, Instagram, Facebook,
Wow.
and she's like, you need
Hmm.
to be out there. And I'm like, no, you know, I'm comfortable with my client base. And she goes, no. She goes, no, you're being selfish. You're being selfish. You shouldn't just be working with, you know, 3, 4, 8 clients. You need to be out there. You're being selfish. Why are you being selfish? And I never thought of it that way. And I was like, wow, yeah. By me not sharing my wisdom, I'm doing a disservice to everyone else. I have this knowledge base. I have this knowledge base of being married for over 3 decades now, and being able to use that wisdom to help someone else that comes up to me to ask a question for a friend and says, hey, I'm a little worried. What can I do? And offer that guidance, offer that advice before it happens. Preempt it. Oh, that's glorious. But even afterwards, because there's a lot of times where I've heard from people, they'll pull me aside almost in a whisper. I really wish I was still with my partner. Even with the betrayal, they feel that way because enough distance has happened, and they put it into perspective. Not that I'm saying that there's an excuse for betrayal, but they see the duration of their entire relationship. And again, it depends on the betrayal. The definition of betrayal is very different for different people. Some, you know, mostly men, believe that betrayal is penetration. If there's no penetration, nothing has happened. Well,
not true.
Break it to you, that's not true. Okay, women see it very differently, you know, type of thing. And men, rightfully so, might feel that their woman talking to another man and sharing their innermost thoughts and feelings and whatnot is a form of betrayal. But again, if you work through the betrayal, because the betrayal is only a chapter in your entire relationship. If you want to make that betrayal the whole book, of course you can. That's your choice. And usually when they make it the whole book, they're no longer together.
Exactly.
And then they realize, you know what? Wait a second. And I'm saying it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more often than not that somebody will approach me and say, I wish I was still married to my partner. I wish I could have forgiven myself and then maybe worked hard to forgive them or understand it from a different perspective, exactly what was going on. Again, every relationship is unique as the people in the relationship. And it just sometimes our emotions get the best of us. And we can't pause enough to stop and see it objectively, push ourselves out and see it as an image and the perspective of it a little differently. Again, not excuses, not justifying the behavior whatsoever, but people make mistakes.
They do.
They do. And it doesn't need to be a life sentence if they've taken ownership of their actions.
See, that's the important part.
Exactly. We were getting to it. They absolutely have to take ownership of it completely. Complete ownership, complete transparency, complete remorse. They have to be sorry for it. They have to understand the hurt, the pain that they've put their partner through. And then move gently and slowly through the healing process as much time as needed, because it's not that time heals, it's time and hard work that does in fact heal. I'm so far removed from the betrayal, but do I still get triggers? Yeah. Every once in a while, there'll be little remnants, just little remnants. And that's okay, because they're almost little reminders to show me how far I've come. How far I have come from that moment of laying on my bedroom floor,
Mm.
of me holding my puppy at the time, who's now my dog, at the time, and just feeling all of those emotions, because
Yeah.
our body becomes a coffin for them all. It truly does. And we have to work through them, not around them, not through them,
You
over
do.
them, skirting them from the side. You go through the fire,
Yeah.
and dare I say, you will be better for the experience. You will.
Yeah.
You will
You
emerge.
said something.
Try.
That's true. You said something, the triggers. That's important. Like, I know that you went through your process. How did it prevent you from trusting? How did it prevent you from allowing others in? Not even just romantically, but just on any level, after going through that.
Oh.
I think that happens. I think that's, that residual, it kind of trickles into other things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you have something catastrophic happen in your life, it affects everything else. Absolutely. And yes, as I mentioned, my triggers, and it could be something today that's one thing, and a month from now it could be something completely different. And it's okay. As I mentioned, it's just little remnants, just little like, oh, just pay attention, make sure that you're checking in, make sure you're grounding yourself and you're breathing. But the trust aspect, that takes a long time. That takes a long time, and it requires the people around you to be trustworthy. It's also about trusting yourself, that when you make a promise to yourself, you honor that promise. That's why I tell all of my clients, do you want me to tell you a technique?
Absolutely.
One of the techniques that I do with my clients that I absolutely love is I encourage them to put themselves on the list. We all have to-do lists. Every single day, every single week, every single month. Put yourself on that list. Give yourself something, anything. An hour to take a long, hot shower. An hour to read a book, not about betrayal or what you're going through, something nonfiction that just engrosses you. Walk around the mall just to meander. Graze in nature, whatever it is, but it's yours. And it's your time that's non-negotiable. Nobody can take it from you. Put yourself on the list. And when you honor yourself by doing something, when you've put yourself on the list, I have an hour, let me go do this or that, whatever it is, you've built trust up in yourself, and you start trusting yourself, because that's key. When you've been betrayed, not only do you not trust your partner, you don't trust yourself. How did I not see this?
Exactly. Ooh.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I've seen, like you were talking about, each relationship is different, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a, family relationship, because that's a huge one too. Like, a lot of people I see where their parents have, done things and they can't forgive them. And I'm like, I hate to see that, because you get one mother, you get one father. And, as parents, you don't know what you're doing with your, when you first have kids, you make so many mistakes, and, some are worse than others. I do agree. I understand that. But it's like, to see that important relationship not be where it could be. Like, I hate to see that. I've seen a lot of marriages that have gone through that, and they've come out better on the other side. Whew. I have trust issues. I don't trust. Listen, I'm the type of person, and I hate that I'm like that. But when you go through a lot in life, it kind of makes you this person where I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt until you give me a reason not to. Once I lose that trust, it's hard. It's hard.
The beauty of what you just said is that you own it, and you likely tell people that.
I do.
Hey,
Listen.
I'm going to let you know this. I'm going to be ridiculously loyal to you.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I roll. I'm loyal to you, but I will let you know this. You cross me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That loyalty goes right out the window, probably with my friendship as well, because I have too much of my own integrity, to put up with that. Because boundaries aren't about what other people do and trying to control their actions. Boundaries are what you're going to do if X, Y, and Z happens.
Yeah,
that's it.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. You're disloyal to me, I'm out the door. And that's what I now have in place with my husband. Yes, I'm still married. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
Really?
I have a boundary in place. Yes, absolutely. It is possible. It is, in fact, possible if both parties are willing to do the work necessary. They're willing to do the work necessary to heal and to move through the betrayal. I give him a lot of credit because he held on. I took off my wedding rings. I handed them over to him. I was done. I'm out. I tapped out and stuff. He held on for dear life. And he's like, listen, I made a mistake. Let's work on this. And he was a very big reason for us to still be married. He worked he did everything I asked him to do. And now he has a boundary in place. I know he screwed up. Yeah. He's well aware. Screwed up. He's very much well aware. He knows that if it happens again, I'm out without any word. I'm gone. That's it. That's my boundary. If it happens again, what I'm going to do is I'm leaving. That's it. That's it. And that has worked so well for us because we both are aware of the situation. We're not hiding from it. Here I am front and center going, hey, my man with his beautiful chestnut brown eyes betrayed me. It did happen, but he also owned up to it. He moved forward. I was fortunate because a lot of women are not fortunate. Their husbands do not come forward and say, I've met someone. Something
accountability.
Nope. So I
need that's major.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
major. You have to take accountability for what you did. That's the first step. You can't even do anything past that. And a lot of adults don't want to do that.
Correct.
And I'm like, if you know you did this, take accountability for it. You can't be like, well, you shouldn't have been. I did. No, I messed up. I did this. I'm sorry. That's for anything. And that's just for anything. It's like, you got to be accountable.
Exactly.
That's so major. And a lot of adults do not want to do that. Men and women alike. And I'm just like, oh, I can't with that. Listen, I'm the first person like, I did this, my bad. Whatever it is. It can be small, it can be major, but you have to be able to do that. Because if you can't do that, you won't learn from, you're going to keep doing the same stuff. You're not going to grow. Because if you can't even admit what you're doing and take accountability for it, you're going to be stagnant.
Exactly. Very, very well said, Kimberly. This has been an amazing conversation. Woo!
It's so, listen, so much good information that people need. People need the help. People need just knowledge, from someone who can help them, who has actually gone through the stuff. It's easy for somebody to say, well, I went to school and you got to do A, B, C, D, E. It don't quite hit the same as somebody saying, well, I went through this. I felt this. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. Let me show you what I did and how I got out. That is so much more powerful and effective.
Well said.
Wow. So tell me about these books. Tell me about the books that you've written to help people and how that came about.
How they came about was as I was going through Betrayal, and I'm a perpetual student anyway. I grab all the books that I can. I want to read everything. I want to digest it all.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're going through Betrayal, you have the attention span of like a goldfish. You cannot retain any kind of information because you just have that ruminating thoughts going through your head, and you're playing your whole life over and over and over again, and all the questions and everything else. So I really struggled with that. I really struggled that I had all of this knowledge in these words on paper, and I just couldn't retain them. I couldn't get past the scientific jargon. I couldn't get past some of the religious undertones because I didn't want to be blamed for what happened. Although something terrible happened to me, it wasn't about me. And therefore I wasn't going to allow for any author to tell me otherwise, to tell me that it was my fault in some way. So I also wasn't going to, I didn't want to subscribe to that. There is a mindset of once a cheater, always a cheater.
Now,
Now,
if they do the work, if you do the work and you want to be a person that doesn't do these things, it can happen.
Exactly. Everybody has the capacity.
That part.
To do so. So it was interesting because as I started working with clients, they would ask for certain things, and I would have Word documents of different techniques and things to go through. I bounced around in reading books. I found that for me, like I wanted to know about triggers. Well, triggers was on page 169 of the book, and I was on page 32. I hadn't gotten there yet. And it was very baffling to me, the structure of a lot of different books. And it was actually someone at a networking event who said, why don't you put them all into a book? And I was like, book? Really? A book? Somebody would want to read a book for me? Why me? Type of thing. Again, I was thinking small. And I was like, all right, I'll put them in a book. And initially it started as an ebook, and it took off. People were really like, couldn't wait to consume it and whatnot. And then I expanded on it and designed it into the guidebook that I needed. And I didn't write it for commercial success, not at all, or academic success. I wrote it for impact as a resource to people. I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody had reached out to me in California and said, listen, our reading group would actually really like to read it. And I wanted to let you know that. And I said, oh, okay, great. Let me know what you guys think of it. I'm curious. She reached out to me 4 weeks later and she says, it was great. Thank you so much and stuff. And I said, well, my publisher thanks you. Me, I'm self-published, type of thing. I'm like, the publisher thanks you. She had 8 people in the group. There's 8 books. And she said, oh, no, we shared the book. And, initially for a split second, I was like, you shared the book. Okay. That's 7 sales that I missed out. And I was like, wait a second. No, Vanessa, you don't understand. Vanessa, you impacted 8 people. That's 8 people in that room who have partners that they've now affected. Maybe they have children. That has affected, and it has rippled out. One book impact. Whereas I went to a women's conference and they gave out 50 copies of my book. And I'm thinking, 50 copies, 50 impact. But a lot of the women left it on the table. First of all, the fact that the title has the word betrayal in it, some people are a little hesitant to be with it because, again, it's a taboo topic. So even though it was 50 books, I maybe only impacted 1 or 2 people that decided to keep the book. It's all about impact for me. So it was the guidebook that I wanted when I was going through Betrayal. And subsequently, a lot of the feedback I got from it, again, let me ask for a friend, is how do I talk to my parents? How do I talk to my in-laws? How do I tell my kids? How do I tell strangers? How do I tell school officials? Because when you're going through something catastrophic in your house, it affects your children. They know. And subsequently, they take that to school and they spread it at school.
Yeah.
how they're feeling and whatnot. It's really important to talk to school officials and the teacher and say, listen, you don't have to get into specifics, but say, our family's going through something, and I'd appreciate if you give Johnny just a little bit of slack for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks. He's going through something. We're trying to get through it. We're having counseling, so forth and so on. I appreciate your, just looking out for him, giving him a little extra attention or whatever it might be. But those conversations are really hard when you don't have the language and the words and the script to be able to say those things. So my companion book to my first one is dealing with the devastation of your partner's betrayal, how to talk to your kids, your parents, your in-laws, strangers, and so forth. And again, they're both designed short chapters. Every single chapter is not more than 2 pages, because again, when you're going through betrayal, you cannot focus on anything for too long. And each chapter ends on a positive note. It usually ends with a journal prompt, something for you to think about, so that if you're reading it at night and you're desperately trying to fall asleep, the last thought you have is something positive rather than a ruminating thought. I designed it with me in mind, and I'm so grateful that it has had an impact on others who have gone through betrayal. And that's all I can hope for. And for me, the most beautiful thing. So around the holidays, a woman had reached out and let me know that my books, both books, had really had an impact on her, that they really resonated with her. And she was so grateful. And she, going through the healing process, had decided to actually leave. Her decision to make. Again, I stayed, but that's not the right decision for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
She left right before Christmas, and she was really struggling with that decision to leave. And what I did was I reached out to my business accountant and I said, listen, I need you to find out what the proceeds from my book, how many books have sold, what are we looking at dollar wise. I wrote her a check and I sent her a check. And I said, the book, I didn't write the book for a commercial success. And I say that quite often to when I do keynote speeches, when I'm on podcasts, everything else. It wasn't designed that way. It was designed as a tool to help others. And by people purchasing the book, they're actually, in fact, helping you. And the heartfelt response that I got from her was just, it was worth
worth it.
Every single penny, because it warms your heart. It warms your heart and kisses your soul that has been so damaged, battered, and bruised, and you worked so hard to step into who you were meant to be, and then to share it, to give it, to let another person know, I've got you. I've got you. It was such an amazing experience for me. I just, even talking about it, just
I know. I
feel it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, this has been so great. I don't even want to let you go. We're gonna have to get together again. Oh my gosh.
I'm all for it. I'm
so
all
grateful.
for it. We can dive into self-sabotage. Woo!
Oh, girl, that's a whole nother podcast.
Absolutely. We'll do a part 2.
I can relate to that. I've been in that. I've done that before, so I definitely can relate to that. But yeah, so you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, and I'm gonna always, I'll make sure that I put all your links with this episode so people can find you. They can reach out if they need your help, because it's definitely a topic that I feel that a lot of people deal with, and they need help. And sometimes, like you said, they can't ask for it, but if they can, purchase your book or reach out or watch you on YouTube, they can get that help, and maybe that'll help to, make them more confident, and where they will reach out and get the help that they need.
Beautiful. Kimberly, thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you. I loved it. I love to learn. I'm a psychology person, so like anything that helps people, mind wise. So everything I love all that. Like it's so needed. So, guys, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kimberly Speaking 8062. And until we speak again, be blessed.